Well, it's Tuesday, and you all know what that means. As you know, NXT has shaken up with its course with the return of Grayson Waller taking shots on the NXT roster, and not to mention aiming for the NXT Championship. However, he is not the only one who's chasing that belt, so we're going to see how things roll out from there. However, we do have, of course, some three championships matches taking place. We have the WWE Women's Speed Championship. If, of course, the current champion, Ren Sinclair, survives against Zarya, she will get an opportunity of the NXT Women's North American title. As you know, we have the NXT Tag Team Championships on the line. Vanity Project defends them against Miles Bourne and Tavian Heights. So we'll see how that will play out too. As you probably can guess, this is going to be a very interesting matchup. But our main event, of course, is the NXT Women's Championship in an NXT Underground match. As you know, the challenger and former NXT Women's Champion, Lola Vice, has, dominated the NXT Underground for who knows how many times. But the real question is, will she finally pull up another miracle on this one? Or will Kendall Gray, of course, be the one to pull the upset on this one? That is something we'll definitely see. But however, we will be reviewing, of course, two other reviews on this one. We're going to review from this past Saturday. We have MLW Fusion. This one features, of course, some interesting matches, but we have the match, of course, in the main event featuring Krule Krugger as a member of Contra Mercs taking on the newest member of Contra Unit, Big Damo. So that's going to be a very interesting. But however, at the end of this programming, we did not expect it, but the serpent behind Contra Unit has revealed himself. Then we move on, of course, with week 2 of Verano de Escandalo by AAA. This one features, of course, more of the qualifying match that will lead up to Triple Mania for the vacant AAA Latin American Championship. We have, of course, La Parca, Lince Dorada, and Mecha Wolf. But the main event, of course, is the AAA World Cruiserweight Championship. Mini Vikingo faces off against the current champion, Rey Fenix, which is going to be a ball breaker match. It's going to be really fun. But however, we will wrap up our episode as usual with some news updates, give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as what events the promotions have thrown out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready with another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up. 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 Get up, get up.
Hey everyone, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK. In the world of wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We just, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We then, of course, do more news updates. If certain information was unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We then, of course, do some real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We even, of course, got the Nagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us. So click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting videos just like this and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, enough of the jibber jabbers. School is in session, so let's begin with MLW Fusion. Alright, MLW Fusion, as you all know, this happened this past Saturday. You can watch it on YouTube if you haven't got the chance to see it. Now, we opened up with 6-man tag team match. Team number 1, we have the current MLW National Openweight Champion, Austin Aries, teaming up with a former National Openweight Champion, Ultimo Guerrero, and of course, Doki, who at the time when this was taped, he was the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, but he's not right now. So their opponents is none other than El Desperado, someone who Doki has dealt in the past, Diego Hill, and of course, the man, the myth, the legend, Mystico. Now, as you all know, Austin Aries is on a mission to rectify the loss that he had against Mystico, and now he feels like that opportunity. But of course, Mystico wants a piece of Austin Aries, and we know that Doki was going to try to play dirty tricks. But, however, it was Ultimo Guerrero that became victim when he fell into La Mística by Mystico, forcing him to tap out, and just like that, Mystico, El Desperado, and Diego Hill picked up the win. But however, of course, during the post-match comments, right in the middle of the ring, Mystico has made his tensions known. He wants the MLW National Openweight Championship. And I'm sure Austin Aries will love nothing more to destroy Mystico from that loss. But we'll see how that plays out. Now, we did see a bit of a video promo with Contra Mercs, consistent with the Good Brothers, Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows, along with Shotzi Blackheart, as you know, ready for war, that sort of thing. So, as you know, Mads Kruger will be facing Big Damo, who is the newest member of Contra Unit. So we'll see where that plays out too. Now, they had just announced Corrine Joy is going to be joining MLW, and she'll be making her debut. I heard that name already before, but I cannot place it out where, but I'll see. Now, our next match, we have tag team action. We have Contra Unit consistent of Hikaru Kwan and Okumura taking on Glasgow Bpys on top, formerly known as Gallus. We have Mark Coffey and Wolfgang. Now, of course, the commentators told Joe Coffey, are you aware about Contra Unit? You know how dangerous they are. Now, these guys are not concerned because they know, yes, we know how dangerous they are. That doesn't bother us. So they're trying to prove how dangerous they can be as the guys who are trying to be on top. And that's exactly what they do. Now, normally we would have seen Contra Unit try to find ways to cheat, but no, they were too much. The Glasgow Bpys are just way too much. Luckily, there was a double team that both Wolfgang and Mark applied onto Okumura, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, Wolfgang picked up the win. Now, we did see, of course, Rich Bocchini talking to the Skyscrapers. As you know, they have their fair issues towards, of course, the Good Brothers. We're determined to, of course, put on the MLW World Tag Team belts on the line. And, of course, they have the fair issues with Austin Aries, who called them out. So they're like telling him, tell Austin Aries to keep his mouth shut. So you can tell how that's going to be out from there. Now, we did see, of course, Rich Bocchini actually talked to LeBron Cozone. It's still unclear who it was that attacked Teddy Long, and Cozone said that there will be hell to pay for whoever attacked them. Now, if I was telling the story, I would say the person who might have done this is either a Contra Unit or someone else who had their fair issues with them. Well, we'll see about that. Now, Matt Riddle, as you know, was talking to Killer Kross about this whole title match. As you know, next week they're going to show, of course, Killer Kross facing Satoshi Kojima, which Matt Riddle felt that it should have been him becoming the next person. But, however, it is what it is. Now, our next match, we have, of course, Big Damo representing Contra Unit and Mads Krule Krugger representing the Contramers. So basically, it's a bit of a civil war of the Contras, if you probably can guess. However, of course, when it comes to Contra, you all know how they operate. They like to make a statement. We did see, of course, Hikaru Kwan, Okumura, and a few other, and Kushida and that big dude make their attack. But however, the Good Brothers were being attacked by the Sentai Death Squad, which is, of course, a group that does the dirty work for Contra Unit that well. But however, Shotzi joined the fight. But however, they were isolated to Mads Kruger. But unbeknownst to them, well, let's just say that Mads Kruger was burned alive. Well, not entirely, but fireball in his eyes. And then all of a sudden, the lights turned off. turned off, and the fireball showed up. And then when I saw that, I'm like, wait a minute, it can't be. And then that's when the lights turned off, and it's Joseph Samael, who we haven't seen him in years. He, of course, along with Simon Gotch and Jacob Fatu, ran, of course, shotgun on, of course, Contra Unit, how they decimated anybody that stood in their way. So the real question is Joseph Samael the real serpent behind Contra Unit? Well, he was the leader, and we haven't seen him since then. But now, it seems the Contra Unit are getting back on track what was lost from them. So the real question is, what is Contra Unit going to do now? Are they trying to control MLW, gain all the championships? I mean, they got rid of Cesar Duran, his daughter, and anybody that were standing in their way. But we'll see what happens. So as of right now, we are done with MLW Fusion. Let's move on with AAA Verano de Escandalo Week 2. Alright, AAA Verano de Escandalo, this is Week 2. Now, for those who don't know what Verano de Escandalo means, in translation, it means Summer of Scandal. Now, if you saw what happened the previous week, of course, on Week 1, at the end of the programming, we saw Dominic Mysterio abandon El Grande Americano, being, of course, taken out by Los Perros de Mar. Now, Dom, of course, made it clear, did you guys forget who I am? Dirty Dom. And that's exactly, he's saying that he is the king of Los Luchadores. And not to mention that he is telling himself he is a real Mexican. And he looks at El Grande Americano, who we all know in reality he's a German wrestler, calling him a fraudster. So that kind of sets it up right there. But of course, it does make the play now that the possibility we will see El Grande Americano and Dominic Mysterio face off each other at, of course, Triple Mania for the AAA Mega Championship. That is something, of course, that El Grande Americano is aiming for. So now this thing with Los Perros out of the way, we'll see how that plays out too. But however, the one thing that is still clear, we now know that Dominic Mysterio is in line with Dorian O'Dell, who in fact has his fair issues towards Rey Mysterio. So basically it's like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, that sort of thing. So we'll see how that plays too. Now, as you know, the AAA Latin America Championship has been vacant. Rey Mysterio, as the current general manager, put out a series of triple threat matches, of course, as qualifiers for the Fatal 4-Way for the vacancy of this championship. We already witnessed, of course, El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. won last week. However, this time we have Lince Dorada versus Mecha Wolf versus La Parca. Now, obviously, these guys are very talented and they are capable. But the real question is who is going to walk away. There have been intense moments where either Mecha Wolf could have won it or Lince Dorada. But however, it was La Parca, of course, who picked up the win because of the confusion that happened by Mecha Wolf when he applied the poison mist onto Lince Dorada. But it was La Parca that applied the Bone Breaker onto him. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, he secured his spot. He joins Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr., my bad. But however, we have 2 more spots left until we hit the Triple Mania. So we'll see what that leads from there. Now, moving on. Once again, we don't know who is this unknown assailant who's been watching and targeting Psycho Circus. We witnessed a while ago that Pagano was attacked, and we don't know what this is significant. Why would someone target them? We still don't know, but we just have to wait and see. Now, as you saw, the Perros del Mar made their victory match against El Grande Americano and Dominic Mysterio. Well, as you know, they just made it perfectly clear they are not done whatsoever. They are determined to prove their point that AAA has gone soft, and they're here to change that. And that's exactly what it is. And of course, their motto, Dios perdonas, pero los perros nunca. Which means, God forgives, but the dogs don't. So we'll see how things go from there. Now, our next match, we have tag team match, and we have Drago and Diamanico taking on, of course, Galeno de Mal, the Aztec Giant, and his big brother, Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. Many people are speculating we would love to see these 2 brothers team up for the tag team belts. I mean, yeah, that is something we could see. We have seen how well these guys can get together, and that's exactly what we love to do. But it was Galeno de Mal with the Galeno special, of course, onto Drago, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, boom. Now, we did see a press conference with Rey Mysterio. They asked him the question about Dominic's actions for what he did. Well, he now understood what Dorian Roldan mentioned. He said that this will affect them. Basically, he was referring to Dominic and all that. So he understands now that has gone into a different scenario. But of course, he's going to try to do what he can to move forward and push it this way. Because as you know, Dorian is better feeling that he got passed over for the promotion. But of course, Dorian was not done. But we'll see what Rey Mysterio has in store. Now, let's jump into the AAA World Cruiserweight Championship. Mini Vikingo versus Rey Mysterio. I have to say, this was a fantastic match. It kind of resembles of the X Division thing going on in TNA, but it was fantastic. I'm not going to lie. I mean, there were moments you would have assumed Mini Vikingo would have been picked up the win, but no. Ray Phoenix tried to apply the Mexican Muscle Buster, maybe two or three times, somewhere around there, until he applied it, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, while the celebration was going on in the ring, in the backstage, Vinny Vikingo was coming back until he was approached by Dorian Odan and whispering him. I don't know what he said, but something tells me that Dorian Odan is trying to cook up plans to retake AAA away from Rey Mysterio to start a war against him. But if I was Rey Mysterio, I get people that would side with you. One of them would be El Grande Americano, but we'll see about that. But that's for another time. But as of right now, we're done with AAA. Let's move on with our last review, and that is, of course, NXT. Alright, NXT. As you all know, last week we witnessed the return of Grayson Waller, who made fire shots at everyone at NXT, mostly the men's division, now that he aims for the NXT Championship. But the real question is how this today is going to affect it. Well, we'll just see. We opened up, of course, with women's tag team action. We have Jada Parker teaming up with Thea Hale, taking on, of course, Carmen Petrovic and Nikita Lyons, who, as you all know, aligned themselves with Natty. Now, remember, 2 weeks ago, we did witness Jada Parker, with the help of Thea Hale, defeat Natty, of course, in the match, which leads to this matchup where we're going to be. This was set up by Mr. Stone the previous week. Now, of course, we all know how this was going to be. I mean, Natty was going to get involved one way or the other, and she did. But she made a mistake when she accidentally took out Nikita Lyons by accident. But in the end, it was Thea Hale who picked up the win by Nikita Lyons. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Thea Hale was the one to challenge her for the Women's Championship on NXT. No, I think she does, but yes. So we'll see that. But however, of course, Natty was going to retaliate for the loss, but failed miserably. So that turns it out that way. Now, prepared for their match, of course, Sabian Heights and Miles Bourne are ready mentally for their tag team matchup, of course. And of course, Miles Bourne, as you probably can guess, played up a little joke, saying, "Hey, you know I'm deaf, right?" And it's, "Oh, I'm sorry." He just played with them. I mean, he did that with Joe Hendricks before, but yes, it was really funny. So they're really mentally prepared for their match. Now, Tony D'Angelo made his way to the ring. Of course, as you probably can guess, he is not happy about Grayson Waller calling out the NXT locker room, as you know, weak as it is. He even said, there were people who were champions when you were here. He pointed out Braun Breaker, Tracy Williams, Trick Williams, Carmelo Hayes, and now him. And he tells him, what about you? You never won a championship. And that was the thing that kind of burns him right there. And not to mention, Cruz Montana showed up, as you know. That kind of leads it up from there. So that's something we will see. I'm sure that Cruz had a lot to say. He said that he's been grinding ever since for a long time and all that. But we'll see what happens. We know these two men want the NXT Championship. We'll just wait and see what the decision is. Now, as you know, Ren QCC are ready for their individual matchups, while Ren Sinclair is prepared to defend the Women's Speed Championship, and so does Kendall Gray for the NXT Women's Championship at the NXT Underground. So we'll see how mentally prepared these guys are. But let's start with Brent Sinclair. As you know, she defends it against Zarya. Now here's the deal that's going to happen. If somehow she survives against Zarya, she will get a future opportunity of the NXT Women's North America. And that's exactly. Now keep in mind, this title match lasts 5 minutes instead of 3. Now, we would have assumed that Zarya would have found a way to put her away quickly, but no, it did not. The match ended after a time limit draw after 5 minutes, but this allowed for Sinclair to have an opportunity of the NXT Women's North American title. But Zarya, of course, in the post-match was not happy with the result, so that's how things end. Now, OTM, as you know, well, let's just say they're dealing with what just happened previously. Bronco Lima apologized to Lucian Price for what happened, abandoning him by himself and all this, but they were able to bury the hatchet until they were interrupted by Birthright. But of course, Lucian Price decided he wants to deal with Lexis King one way or the other. And I don't know if Bronco Lima is ready to be around that, because he knows that of course Birthright is up to no good as always, but we'll see. Now Kelani Jordan got up close to Grayson Waller because of course they can relate about how much they were overshadowed, but once again Kelani Jordan made it look all about her more than him. And then of course Mason Rook he took offense to what Grayson Waller said, how soft the men's division in NXT have gone, and then of course ended up in the brawl with Cam Hendricks, as you know, after what happened last week. So all hell broke loose between those two. Now, jumping into our next title match, we have the NXT Tag Team titles. We have Vanity Project, Ricky Smokes and Brad Baylor taking on Miles Bourne and Tavian Heights. Now, this match came about, of course, because of a match that took place last week, and that's exactly. Now, we know that the Vanity Project, Baylor and Smokes, have a secret weapon, and that is Jackson Drake and Milo Lockwood. But however, things didn't go according to plan. They got caught with their hand in the cookie jar, and the ref just ejected them out. And because of that, this allowed for, of course, Tavian Heights and Miles Bourne to take advantage of it. But it was Tavian Heights that picked up the win on Ricky Smokes with the belly-to-belly suplex. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, brand new NXT Tag Team Champions. Now, of course, in the backstage, the Vanity Project were not happy with how things turned out. But however, while they were making their way out, Keanu Carter was on his way in until he locked eyes towards Milo Lockwood. I don't know what's going on between those two, which was kind of weird. Now, Lizzie Rain, of course, was minding her own business until she was confronted by both Izzy Dame and Nico Vance. Now, of course, Lizzie, as you all know, won her match against Izzy, but that was, of course, she was saying, look, you lost because Nico Vance got involved and somehow ended up being attacked by Shawn Spears. But however, Shawn Spears decided to put up a mixed tag team match, him teaming up with Lizzie Rain, while Izzy and Nico team up. Now, Lizzie told Shawn Spears that he doesn't trust him, so it's understandable. So we'll see how those two will coexist next week. Now, Keanu Carter faces off EK Prosper. As you know, EK Prosper won against Keanu Carter, not once, but twice. But the real question is how it will be any different from last time. Now, of course, we know EK Prosper would have won if that was it. But however, Carver, out of nowhere, and while he was outside the ring, he apologized to Booker T for almost running into him. And they were all shocked, like, what? They never heard him apologize before. So we don't know what was that all about. But somehow he was able to survive the match. He actually applied a small package, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, Keanu Carter picked up the win. So we don't know if he's turning a new leaf or whatever it is. It's still unclear, but we'll see. Now, Darkseid, as you know, let's just say that they're still dealing with this whole thing with Saquon, and of course Dion Lennox will have to deal with them one-on-one once again. So this is going to be another bloody match. Now, Shallow Hill, as you know, was not present, so he was out, out on his whatever he's doing. And then he talked about Cam Hendricks, about him not being cleared, all that all of that. I don't know exactly what's going on, but it's kind of funny how things go. Now, NXT were able to acknowledge the passing of Dory Funk Jr., as you know, who just passed away. Many of you know about his legacy in the trips with Japan and all this other stuff. But yes, it's real nasty. I'm sure we're going to see that with AEW and TNA and other promotions at some point, but we'll see. Now, Mr. Stone was on the phone. I don't know who he's talking about. It turns out there's a free agent that was mentioned. But, however, Cruz Montana actually was talking to him, and then he tells him, listen, I put you in a #1 contendership against Grayson Waller. Whoever walked out between the two of you, you guys will face Tony D'Angelo for the NXT Championship. Which, of course, satisfied Cruz Montana completely, knowing too well this is what is going to happen. But, however, Tristan Angels, being, of course, thinking that he is the face of NXT, was not happy, feeling that you haven't been here that long, and all of his son. And he tells him, how long you been here? 3 months. But he tells him, I was here at these perfect times last time. So basically saying, I've been here a lot longer than you. So basically he's like acting like it just, but I think for Tristan, it's like, you were with TNA, yeah, but I've been here. So that sort of thing. Now our next match is the NXT Women's Championship in a underground match. Of course, Lola Vice, who's been undefeated in this, faces against Kendall Gray. Now, of course, this is Lola Vice's domain. You all know how this plays out for her. She always wins her matches, but at some point, we all were worried about Kendall Gray when she might have injured herself. Like, she might have hit her head hard, but however, they continue with this match. Man, it went crazy. Even Lola Vice took out the referee. I was like, damn, it's gonna go nuts. But of course, I don't know exactly what Kendall Gray applied, but it looked more like a triangle lancer. And just like that, Lola Vice tapped out. And of course, Kendall Gray retained the belt. However, there's been talk about this afterwards, where the possibility that Lola Vice might be on her way to the main roster. Now, we will see what happens in the upcoming weeks or month, depending on how things will be on a transitional matter. So stay tuned for that. But as of right now, we are done with NXT. Let's move on to wrap up our episode with some news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news update. So let's begin, as always, with upcoming events, starting, of course, with GCW. Now, on August 6th, we have the 20 Years of Bad Boy, which is going to happen on Asbury Park. They just announced we have Slade versus Crowbar. Then we have Genesis, consistent of Megan Bayne and her real-life boyfriend, and the star of the show, Joey Janela. They team up with the Blackheart, Leo Rush. They take on Busta and the Brain, and they team up with Nick Wayne, which is going to be interesting. Now, we do have, of course, part 1 of the homecoming event in Atlantic City on the 15th of August. The GCW World Championship will be on the line. Atticus Cole will defend it against Joseph Sawyer. So that pretty much is going to happen. Then we have the Denver show on September 11th in Denver. Mind Your Business. Shotzi Blackheart will take on Dr. Redacted. And then finally, the LA show on the 16th of September. No Signal in the Hills in LA. Hook will team up with Busta and the Brain, taking on, of course, KJ Orso and Sam Stackhouse, who we've seen them team up. But this time, they will team up with Atticus Cogar. So that's going to be interesting. Now, MARIGOLD will have their next event this coming Sunday, I believe. Summer Destiny. And this is the full card that was announced. There's going to be a double comeback match. Maya Iwatani will team up with Victoria Yuzuki, taking on Takumi Iroha and Suri. We have the MARIGOLD World Championship. Miku Ano will be facing off against Nagiza Nozaki. Then we have the Twin Star Tag Team Championships. Twin Towers. Kohike Amori and Chika Goto will take on, of course, Yuka Yamazaki and Kotaro Nozomi. I don't know what that is. We have the 3D Trio Championships on the line. Mai Sakurai, Natsumi Shizuki, and Rina Yamanaka will take on, of course, the members of Darkness Revolution, Mitsa Matsui, Chiaki, and Reo Seto. We know they've been aiming for these belts for a while, from my understanding. They even took two of the belts and act like they're champions, but luckily they got them back. We have Megaton Big Adventure, Megaton versus Yuiku. Then we have Noemi Shizuki and Lady AI taking on Shiko Kojino and Aria James. And then we have Hummingbird and another person named Kotani. So basically, that's what's going to happen. Now, related to Japanese, Chi-Chi will be making her appearance in Bar 045 on the 26th of August. This is an independent show, not an actual promotion. I have seen this event a few times, but yes. Kitsune Women's Wrestling will have the Kamui Goes to Hollywood. They'll take place on the 30th of this month. Zara Zacher, who's a local wrestler here, will be making her appearance, and so is Karma. Then we have, of course, the upcoming Produce event, Volume 4, Janela 6 Rex, on the 13th of September. Mega Bane will take on Korean Joy. Now I know that's where that name comes from. Jonathan Gresham will take on Rudy Lockhart. Then we have Second Gear Crew, consisting of Effie and Mance Warner, taking on the Rejects, Reed Bentley and John Wayne Murdoch. Now, on to some developments here. We want to give congratulations to Bianca Belair and her husband, Montez Ford, on the birth of their son, of course. There's been photos been posted. You can't see the baby feet right there. So congratulations, guys. Max Caster, it was reported that his AEW contract is set to expire in October this year, but it's also been noted that he hasn't had a single match with AEW this year. So, 0. I don't know what is going on in that matter. We have seen Anthony Bowens recently, but don't know what's going on there. Now, Chi-Chi explained about in an interview about why she goes by that name, and she said that she got the idea from Kelly Kelly. So that kind of makes a lot more sense. Chi-Chi and Kelly Kelly. So I never knew that, but it makes sense. I mean, she does pay attention to American wrestling. You know, that's what she said. Kizuna Tanaka, as you probably know, she's been out on injury for a while, but recently it's been foretold that she right now is frustrated that she's not able to participate in the round robin tournament, the Dream Star Grand Prix. So that sets it up right there. Now, PW Insider has been reporting that Mara Sade, as you all know, she is no longer on her deal with TNA has been expired. Now, she was not part of the TNA official roster, but she was there. However, it's been reported that TNA believes that she is going AEW bound. So that is something that's been going around. We do know, for those who may be following, she is the real life girlfriend of the current TNT champion, Kevin Knight. So I don't know if that's the case, but we'll just have to wait and see in the upcoming weeks. So I think that's pretty much it what we have for now. So let's call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you know, AEW will make their way to Arena Mexico in Mexico City for Grand Slam Mexico. A lot of things is going to take place. I can't wait to see how this one goes out. And I think we do have, of course, WWE Evolve. Now, for those who have been aware, I have not been posting anything with New Japan and Stardom because I had a lot of things. I'll be releasing those on a separate occasion. And also, I've been thinking the same thing with Produce and Choco Pro, since I have a lot of things that have been going on in my mind. So I will be probably dividing the Stardom of shows in pieces, like maybe 3 or 4 of the days, and then another. So we'll see about that, how that plays out. But we'll do the same. I'm going to try to catch up with New Japan if that's the case. So we'll see. But that's the plan. So the focus right now is AEW Grand Slam Mexico and, of course, WWE Evolve. So until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. And have a nice day.